All right, moderates, watch out. The socialists are stepping up to fill the leadership vacuum in the Democrat Party. Bernie Sanders and AOC are hitting the road with their Fighting Oligarchy tour in red and blue states, taking aim at the usual suspects like Elon Musk and President Trump. But they are also throwing some shade at their own. Watch.
We need a Democratic Party that fights harder for us too. I want you to look at every level of office around and support Democrats who fight, because those are the ones who can actually beat Republicans.
You got guys playing defense, but they also play offense. Our offense is to remind us all and every person in this country, we are the wealthiest nation in the history of this world.
But the moderate wing of the party is doing their best to counter AOC. Democratic Michigan Senator Alyssa Slotkin fired this shot. Listen closely.
I can't just chain myself to the White House and become an activist full time, because you and others here are going to call me for things that you need. All of those things require me to be more than just an AOC. Everyone you mentioned has a lot of words, but what have they actually done to change the situation with Donald Trump?
I'm glad that they're showing the person that the Democratic Party positioned as their rising star, former CIA torturer Alyssa Slotkin, who just won her election in Michigan. She's the person who responded to the Trump joint congressional setting. You got two planks broadly in the Democratic Party. I almost called it the Republican Party. My strategy right now is to target centrist Democrats and try to program normie liberals to hate them for collaborating with the right wing. That's the opportunity we have now. Show that the left is the only thing that will fight Trump. That lets us earn trust, spread class consciousness, and promote passing causes. Show that Chuck Schumer is supporting Netanyahu as Netanyahu is openly supporting Trump. That's what I see them doing right now, but they need to sharpen up. Yes, I 100% agree with you on this. And that is my strategy as well. And I think that that is their strategy as well. I think they're trying to do that. Yeah. That's it. That's why I think they're doing this whole like fighting oligarchy tour and showcasing how popular it is, to show the rest of the country that there is a different way out of this, that there are real fighters out there. But those real fighters are not fucking moderate centrists. That's it. Yes. The moderate centrists like Slotkin think that they can go to their town halls and be like, no, I can't do anything. I'm not here to be an activist. Otherwise, I can't be a good legislator.
But if all else fails, the Bidens are looking for a comeback. NBC News reporting that former President Joe Biden and his wife, former First Lady Jill Biden, have been putting out some feelers to Democratic leaders and saying, look, you know, we can help you. We can do
I agree. They do need to. I agree with this, by the way. They do need to endorse Zoran and do a rally in New York City ASAP. Bernie and AOC can't have it both ways. They say, run as independent and we'll endorse you. And then they haven't endorsed Zoran yet with 90 days left. I agree. I think they absolutely have to use this momentum to endorse Zoran Mamdani. I'll do everything in my power to make that happen. The person who prevented me from falling into Gamergate rage now calls you anti-Semitic. How things change. Wait, it was Ethan Klein that prevented you from falling into Gamergate rage? That's so funny. Yeah. Yeah, well, the world is a crazy place, you know. With my political development, I think there was a time when Ethan and I were in the crosshairs of one another, or at odds with one another. Not that I really paid attention to what he was doing back then, but, you know, having Jordan Peterson on and things of that nature, like that would have put me directly against him ideologically. And now we're back to that norm, I guess. Also, not to glaze you too much, but I really think they don't give you enough respect. 50K live viewers on their stream is larger than the biggest rally Bernie ever had. That really doesn't seem to sink in with them. It's all good. I think they understand it. Dude, first of all, a lot of people on their teams are members of this community. Some of them literally got involved in politics because of their initial interest being sparked by being members in this community. That's something you have to remember. So there are certainly people who do understand the value. Others within the orbit. Like there's to think that like Bernie and AOC don't know the importance of coming on to this broadcast is wrong. They do. They literally were willing to give me an hour of their time. And the only reason why it didn't happen is because they came in too late to the rally. Like they're not giving an hour to CBS. You know what I mean? Every now and then, maybe if you get it on the right time, you can get a Lex Fridman spot or a Theo Vaughn spot. But like most outlets are not getting that.
we can do anything else necessary to help Democrats recover the lost ground. And boy, it's lost, Janine. It is down to about 27%. So they've been in Delaware, I guess, for a little while. He's going back and forth to Washington, D.C. on the Amtrak, I know. But they're starting to put out some feelers. You know, you guys, I think you need some help from the two of us.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if no one calls, and I don't think they should sit and wait beside their phone. Look, Joe Biden and Jill, I think in the end, the mess that happened with Kamala Harris is going to be attributed to Joe Biden and to Jill. OK, but having said all that, I really want to talk about the message. They want someone who fights. They want someone who does actions, according to Elise Slotkin, actions over words. And, you know, does that mean that you don't talk about things that, you know, you get out there and you torch things or you burn things up? I'm not sure what that means. And plus, I think it's kind of crazy that they want to fight an oligarchy when I think it was Fetterman the other day said, I don't think the Democrats should use the word oligarchy. The American people don't know what it means. And I don't think they know what it means, especially Bernie Sanders, because he's a socialist. And the truth is that, you know, socialists control pretty much every aspect of your society, and they want to fight the oligarchy. I mean, I don't quite get it all. But this is a whole bunch of...
What the are you saying? A socialist controls every aspect of your life? What are you saying? Where? Oh, I don't know. I don't know what to do about this, but it's good that we look at this stuff because I hope you understand. This is what half, at least, the country believes, if not more than half the country. Okay? This idiotic slop is coming from the most popular news commentary broadcast, okay? Fox News. I need you to understand, there are a lot more people that tune into this and subscribe to this notion than there are even Republican Party voters. It is unimaginably cooked, which is why I always find it funny when people are like, you know what? These guys, Bernie, he's not as radical as I want him to be. It's like, yeah, he's not as radical as I want him to be either, dumbass. But look at the situation. Look at the goddamn situation. A socialist is controlling every aspect of your life. It's like, where? Who? What are you talking about? God, the situation is so bleak, dude. We got direct billionaires. The wealthiest billionaire on the planet has complete control over the administrative state and is using every opportunity to dismantle it. And this is the dumb shit that people are hearing and going, hell yeah, to. The notion that, like, socialists control every aspect of people's lives. Like, what are you saying?
Nothing from a whole bunch of nobodies because Donald Trump broke the Democrat Party. They don't have a message. They don't have a messenger. This
might be one of your few libbed up opinions. If you think it's libbed up to like actually exist in the real world and talk to real human beings who have some of the dumbest opinions of all time, then I don't know what to tell you. Then I guess I am lived up, you know? Like, what do you mean? America is an incredibly reactionary country. Yeah, thank you. Literally, the first thing you learn as an organizer is to meet folks where they're at. We got to get realistic on moving people instead of focusing on ideological purity. Thank you. Exactly. Exactly.
They just want to fight. They don't know what they want to fight about. Half of them are happy about what's going on with the torching of the Tesla vehicles. Nobody's coming out against it other than Ro Khanna and maybe Bernie Sanders. They're in the middle of an abyss. They don't know what to do. And, you know, I think in the end, the party is going to be split. They say they're like the Republican Party when the Tea Party came in and kind of fractured it. They've got like two Tea Parties. They don't know who they are or what they're about. And, you know, if final note, if AOC wants to say they're the party of the working Americans, don't let her forget that she wouldn't allow Amazon to come to Queens, that there were 25,000 jobs that would have been available, $4 billion in lost wages, $4 billion in additional business to local businesses. Don't even use the word AOC.
Just, I have the same question when she talks about fighting, wanting someone who fights and fighting the oligarchy. What does that actually mean to you as you hear it?
It means that we need representatives that want to be out there with the people, holding rallies and town halls, people who are talking about what's going on in the administration, the trade-offs of, Trump wanting trillions in tax cuts for people who earn a ton of money, and that they're going to come and cut your Medicaid. She's talking about people that are open and honest and responsive, and people who admit what's going on, the harsh realities of what's going on in some blue cities, which is, she had been talking about it. And this week I've mentioned it every day, but Ezra Klein and Derek Thompson's new book, Abundance, is coursing through the conversation in Democratic circles. So, AOC and Bernie, you can call them radicals. They're democratic socialists. They're talking about things like, it should be a basic human right to have good health care and to have the right to a good education and a roof over your head and be able to make enough money to put food on the table. That's not where, listen, Democratic Socialists is the left side of the party for sure, but they are bringing in crowds. He has more people showing up to his rallies now than even when he was running for president, and he had big crowds at that moment. The reason, though, that this isn't a Tea Party movement within our party, at least at this point, is that you're not seeing progressives winning their elections. They're not primarying moderates and winning it all. Moderates were hugely successful in the 2024 election on the congressional and Senate level, which is part of what Elisa Slotkin's talking about. She won Michigan as a moderate Dem when Donald Trump won as well. But Pritzker's getting on the road, and these town halls, they're huge. 800 for Pat Ryan, 1,300 for Jason Crow. That's what fighting is. It's showing up.
Tea Party, Jesse. When I think of the Tea Party, I think about smaller government and less regulation and lower taxes that pushed the Republican Party back to those roots. I'm trying to figure out, if that, do they want more government, larger government? Is that where a fringe Tea Party would push the Democrat Party at this point?
Well, we know what they
parallel?
want, and no one wants it. It was DEI, it was trans surgeries, it was cash bail. It's been rejected, and it's all based in cities. The Tea Party was a national movement. It was intergenerational, and they won massive midterms. And it wasn't just in the House. They put Tea Party people in the Senate. And Trump came out of the Tea Party. So I don't see a Tea Party yet, but it could be fun to watch.
The Tea Party is not an analog because the Tea Party was an astroturf movement. The Tea Party also is aligned, not diametrically opposed to the agenda of the Republican Party. They just are basically Republican plus. This is the major difference between a real populist left movement coming from within the Democratic Party and outside of the Democratic Party. It cannot be astroturfed in the same way that the Koch brothers basically designed the Tea Party movement. It can't. No billionaire is going to fund a socialist movement. They're not, because it's, inherently against their existence. They're not going to do that. So that's number one. Number two, the Tea Party is Republican plus, whereas Democratic socialists, socialists alike, and trade unionists even, and their advocacy is directly at odds with the advocacy of the Democrats. That's why they sign off on messaging bills that say communism will never come to the United States of America. Communism is bad. Nancy Pelosi and Bernie Sanders do not see the world in the same way. They don't. They are at direct odds with one another. Donald Trump and the rest of the Republicans, on the other hand, do see the world in the same way. Now, maybe the Republicans wanted to be more moderate, wanted to be more stable, and obviously resisted against Trump, but there's a reason why they fell in line. They fell in line because their worldview is the same. Okay? The direction that they are moving in is the same. Trump did not invent anti-immigrant sentiment. He merely unshackled the dog whistles. He said, no more dog whistles. Just say they're rapists, dumbass. Just keep saying brown people do rape and serial murder. That's all the difference is between Donald Trump and what you used to hear from the normal Republican Party in the ways that Nancy Pelosi wanted a normal and strong Republican Party because he's a idiot. Donald Trump read the room, saw the direction of the Republican Party, many of those opinions he already aligned with, and just unshackled the messaging. That's it. You have to truly believe that the Democrats are interested in social progress or advancing an agenda that will uplift the material conditions of working class Americans You have to truly believe that they're being earnest and not simply using that as a messaging strategy to try and win votes to the best of their ability with no real interest in advancing that agenda. To think that Bernie and people like myself especially are basically on the same pathway towards progress as the Democrats are. I'm just like Democrat plus. That's not what it is. They want to maintain capitalism. They want to maintain late stage capitalism. They want to maintain neoliberalism in this country. That is their primary focus. Therefore, we are diametrically opposite to one another.
I'm afraid what it's going to look like if Democrats fight harder. They shot him.
I do think that there is a change happening, albeit slow, but a change is happening. Why do I think that? Well, I think that from my own personal experiences, not only because I see so many people going to the Bernie rallies and whatnot, but I also see that in the way that like the media reception has been to even someone like myself. 10 years ago, there's no world that the media would openly call someone like myself a hard socialist. The only people that would call me that would be Fox News. 10 years ago, a person like myself would not be branded adequately by liberal outlets. They would just call me, he's the most liberal. He's super liberal. So that dynamic is shedding away a little bit. That the messaging is changing a little bit, and that's good. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. People are making that distinction, and I think that that is not a bad distinction to make. Anyway, it's interesting to also have this as the backdrop here, because while I'm talking about the minutia, this is talking about how a registered Republican that shot Donald Trump was actually secretly in the pocket of the Democrats. The Democrats put a hit out on Donald Trump. Yeah, totally, dude. That's how ballsy the Democrats are, which is why they voted for the CR bill effectively. Like, how does that work? How do you live in a world where you think the Democrats wanted to kill Donald Trump, like assassinate him, but also as soon as he came into office, they just rolled over and were like, please, sir. Like, how do these two things work at the same time? Registered Republican incel wearing some gun tuber merchandise goes out of his way to make a name for himself by shooting at the president. And they're like, this is the Democrats' fault. The very same Democrats that keel over and give Trump everything he wants every step of the way. Ridiculous. It makes no sense. All you're doing by supporting Bernie/AOC is taking your very finite population of fans and making sure they remain Democrats for all eternity. The actual people who need to be reached are the tens of millions who are being taken by the right, and you fail to reach them. Yes, dude, I know. If only I was more racist, I would be able to reach those guys. I know, MAGA communists. You got it. You're right. Totally. It's just weird because the only motion you get with your pathway, with your way of changing people's minds is just normalizing the racist sentiment, which is anti-materialist. It's stupid. Yeah. Real Nazball revolutionary sentiment hasn't been tried yet. We'll eventually get there. Thank you, dude. You really got it. I'm glad that it's no longer just a meme flag online, and it's now a real robust movement, according to you. Yeah, one day you'll be able to penetrate the working class consciousness and get them to recognize their class position. You'll be able to agitate appropriately, and you'll be able to instill class consciousness in the working class. Just, keep saying that transgender people are mentally ill and a bunch of ableist slurs and shit, and like you'll inevitably reach them. I promise. Yeah. If I say the R word, if I say the R word a couple more times and call people the F slur or whatever, I'll be able to truly get real working class people on board, because that's how they speak. Sure. Okay. That is how they speak. Got it. So what? Your job isn't to, your job shouldn't be to lean on the reactionary tendencies that they have. Your job is to move them away. Hasan, centrist, right-wing, grift arc. What? Yeah. It's so funny that like these guys, a lot of MAGA communists, their starting position is despising the Democratic Party. And that's understandable. It's understandable to despise the Democratic Party. It's a bourgeois party under the duopoly that still is very much on board with maintaining capitalism, right? It's a controlled opposition party. And yet, what you're doing is literally the exact same thing that they're doing. They also are like, let's just drop the trans stuff, actually, and maintain neoliberalism that way. Okay, good luck. Like Lenin said, the point is not to tail the working class, but to lead them. Yes. Why do you avoid talking about their party, the ACP? Because I don't care. It's irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. And if they're doing like real direct action in terms of like helping people out in communities and whatever, great. If they actually, if they're, actively spreading anti-capitalist thought, good. Okay. I think there's a whole bunch of reactionary garbage there, and I don't personally care about it. And it's the nicest thing I can do is to not yell about them all the time.
Yeah.
They fined him $500 million. They tried to strip him off the ballot. They impeached him twice. They had a guy with a gun show up to a Supreme Court justice's house after they accused him of rape. I mean, literally, what more can you guys do? The only thing that you haven't done is shut down the government. Be my guest. Because then we'll find out who is really an essential worker. But you're right, Jessica. You actually define fighting better than I've ever heard anybody. Because right now, your party thinks fighting is like throwing a cane at Trump. That's not fighting with a little sign. That's nothing. I think what you guys need to do is recruit, raise money, and with the midterms. Great. And then you can start doing things.
We had our
nice straw man you got there. Why don't you advocate for already existing communist structures in America? What's the already existing communist structure that you want me to advocate for? Why don't you just say it out loud?
President.
Because until it reaches a real point, okay, and until they shed themselves of their reactionary tendencies, and it reaches a real point of momentum when there's like actually people, you just want me to talk about your splinter Discord, okay? And I'm not going to do that. It's the same reason why I don't talk about like Baba Vakian all the time or whatever bastion of new Larishites that exist. I don't care about your 30-person splinter Discord. You are from our blood report about Turkey. You born in this land, and is your content already come on? But I don't know why people think I haven't talked about Recep Tayyip Erdogan arresting Imamoglu. I did. I talked about it extensively, and I will cover it. I will cover it again. Where is this coming from? Like, people think that I haven't been talking about this issue. There's also people that come in here and they're like, why don't you even post on Instagram? I have as well. What the